All right, everybody, we're at the last two chapters, chapter 9 and chapter 10, and we're going to read them both right now. We are going to find out what happens at the end of the story and how this crazy problem of being right in the way of the Tyrannosaurus Rex gets solved, and see if Jack and Annie make it back home. A great reader would be making lots of predictions, maybe thinking about what they know about dinosaurs, what they seem to know about these characters, and maybe you guys can make some predictions as you're reading about how you think the story might end. I'm so curious. Here we go. Chapter 9, The Amazing Ride. The Pteranodon coasted down to the ground. He stared at Jack with his bright, alert eyes. What was Jack supposed to do? Climb on? I'm too heavy, thought Jack. Don't think, just do it, he said to himself. Jack looked at the Tyrannosaurus. He was starting up the hill, getting closer and closer, his giant, sharp teeth flashing in the sunlight. Oh my gosh, okay, just do it. Jack put his book in his backpack, and then he eased down onto the Pteranodon's back. He held on as tight as he could. The creature moved forward. He spread out his wings and lifted off the ground. They teetered this way and that way and this way, and Jack nearly fell off. The Pteranodon steadied himself and then rose up into the sky. Jack looked down. The Tyrannosaurus was chomping the air, staring at him. The Pteranodon glided away and sailed over the hilltop. He circled over the valley, over all the nests filled with the babies, over all the giant duck-billed dinosaurs. Then the Pteranodon soared out over the plain, over the Triceratops who was grazing in the high grass. It was amazing to see. Jack felt like a bird. He felt as light as a feather. And here they are gliding away. The wind was rushing through his hair. The air smelled sweet and fresh. He whooped, "Woo!" and laughed. Jack couldn't believe it. He was riding on the back of an ancient flying reptile. The Pteranodon sailed over the stream, over the ferns and bushes. Then he carried Jack down to the base of the oak tree. When they came to a stop, Jack slid off the creature's back and landed on the ground. Then the Pteranodon took off again and glided into the sky. "Bye, Henry," said Jack. "Are you okay?" Annie shouted from the treehouse. Jack pushed his glasses into place, and he just kept staring up at the Pteranodon. "Jack, are you okay?" Annie called. Jack looked up at Annie and he smiled. "Thank you for saving my life. And that was really fun." "Hurry, climb up," said Annie. Jack tried to stand. His legs were feeling wobbly and he felt a little dizzy. "Hurry, Annie, he's coming." Jack turned around. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was headed straight toward them. Jack bolted up the ladder and grabbed the sides and started up. "Hurry, hurry," Annie shouted. Jack scrambled into the treehouse. "He's coming toward our tree," Annie cried. Suddenly, something slammed against the oak tree, and the treehouse shook like a leaf. Annie and Jack tumbled into the books. "Hurry, Jack, you have to make the wish." "We need the book, the one with the picture of Frog Creek," said Jack. "Where is it?" He pushed some books aside. He had to find the book that had the picture of Frog Creek, the book about Pennsylvania. There it was. He grabbed it and tore through it, looking for the photograph of Frog Creek Woods. He found it. Jack pointed to the picture. "I wish we could go home. I wish we could go home," he said. The wind began to moan, softly at first. "Hurry," Jack yelled. The wind picked up. It was whistling now. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Jack closed his eyes. He held on tightly to Annie, and then everything was still. Perfectly still. Then a bird began to sing. Now we're on chapter 10. Jack opened his eyes. He was still pointing at the picture of Frog Creek Woods. He peeked out the treehouse window. Outside, he saw the exact same view. "We're home," whispered Annie. The woods were lit with a golden late afternoon light. The sun was about to set. No time had passed since they left. "Jack! Annie!" a voice called from the distance. "That's Mom," said Annie. Jack saw their mother far away. She was standing in the front of their house. She looked very tiny. "Annie! Jack!" Annie stuck her head out the window and shouted, "Coming!" Jack still felt dazed. He just stared at Annie. "What just happened to us?" he said. "We took a trip in a magic treehouse," said Annie. "But it's the same time as it was when we left," said Jack. Annie shrugged. "And how did it take us so far away?" said Jack. "And so long ago." "You just looked at a book and said you wish you could go there," said Annie. "And the magic treehouse took us there." "Yeah, but how?" said Jack. "And who built this treehouse? And who put all these books here?" "I don't know. A magic person, I guess," said Annie. "A magic person? Oh, look," said Jack. "I almost forgot about this." He reached into his pocket and he pulled out the golden medallion. "Someone lost this back there in Dinosaur Land. Look, there's an M on it." Annie's eyes got round. "Do you think M stands for magic person?" she said. "I don't know," said Jack. "I just know someone went to that place before us." "Jack! Annie!" came the distant cry again. Annie poked her head out the window. "We're coming!" she shouted. Jack put the gold medallion back in his pocket. He pulled the dinosaur book out of his backpack and put it back with all the other books. Then he and Annie took one last look around the treehouse. "Goodbye, treehouse," whispered Annie. Jack slung his backpack over his shoulder and started down the ladder. Seconds later, they hopped onto the ground and started walking out of the woods. "No one is going to believe our story," said Jack. "So let's not tell anyone," said Annie. "Dad won't believe it," said Jack. "He'll say it was a dream or something," said Annie. "I don't think Mom's going to believe it either," said Jack. "Yeah, she'll just tell us it was pretend," said Annie. "My teacher will not believe this," said Jack. "Yeah, she's going to tell you you're nuts," said Annie. "We better not tell anyone," said Jack. "I already said that," said Annie. Jack sighed. "I don't know. I'm starting to not believe it myself," he said. They left the woods and started up the road to their house. As they walked past all the houses on their street, the trip to Dinosaur Time did seem more and more just like a dream. Only this world and this time seemed real. Jack reached into his pocket and touched the gold medallion. He felt the engraving of the letter M, and it made his fingers tingle. Jack laughed, and suddenly he felt really happy. He couldn't explain what had happened today, but he knew for sure that their trip in the magic treehouse really was real. It had to be absolutely real. "Tomorrow," Jack said, "let's go back to the woods." "Of course," said Annie. "And let's climb back into the treehouse," said Jack. "Yeah," said Annie. "And let's see what happens next," said Jack. "Of course," said Annie. "Race ya!" And they took off together, running down the road to go home. The end. Wow, what an adventure! Kindergarten, you just finished your first chapter book with me. We all just read a chapter book together. This tells me that you're getting really ready to be a first grader, because I know that Miss D likes to read some chapter books in first grade. So maybe if you can find some magic treehouse books at your house, or maybe if you can find some on your Kindle, or if you have a device where you borrow books from the library, maybe you can find some more Magic Tree House books to read if you enjoyed this one. And if it wasn't your favorite story, that's okay too. We all are entitled to our own opinions. I really like this story. I think it was such a fun adventure, and it was sort of neat because we learned a few dinosaur names, and we learned a few facts about dinosaurs too. I know that I learned that some dinosaurs protect their babies and the nests. I learned that some dinosaurs, like Triceratops, only eat plants. What's something that you learned? And what's something that you liked about this story? I can't wait to share another with you. Great listening ears, and I will talk with you all soon. Bye.